Long before over-under shotguns became a thing, there were over-under Derringers, as made by Remington. Now, these guns were made from 1866 to 1935, one of the most prolific guns ever made by Remington.
Technically, it's called the Remington Model 95, but it's been known as the Elliot Pistol or the Double Derringer since its inception in 1866. And it's probably one of the pistols that when you say the word Derringer, this is the pistol that comes to mind. I hate to overuse the word, but it's an iconic pistol of the cowboy and Old West era.
It was used theoretically by gamblers. It was used by, storekeepers. It was used by madams. This was the kind of the mystique that this gun achieved. Actually, it was a very, very popular gun just for rank and file civilians. Number one, because it was very, very well made, and number two, because it was easy to use and handy.
So what you had was a swing-out barrel that was attached to a single-action frame, and it's a .41 caliber gun. It was a .41 rimfire. And what you did in order to load the gun is there was a little lever on the side of the gun, and once you swung the lever 180 degrees, you could just swing the barrels open and that exposed the breech end. And then you could load your 2 rimfire shells, close it, lock it, and it was ready to fire. All you had to do was just cock the hammer and then pull the trigger. And it had a rotary mechanism inside the frame so that it automatically would swap between the upper barrel and the lower barrel every time you cocked the hammer. So you could get your 2 shots off quickly. And that became the salient selling point for the Model 95 was the fact that you could you could get your 2 shots off quick in an era when most guns of this type only had 1 shot.
When you look at it, it was originally designed for the black powder cartridge. Came out at the end of the American Civil War in 1866. Stayed in manufacture until 1935. There were 4 different models that they manufactured this gun in, showing that it was popular enough to listen to your customer base and to make improvements to the design over the period of years that it was being manufactured.
The initial Remingtons had no ejector of any kind. You loaded your 2 cartridges in there, bang, bang, and that was pretty much it. You were done. Later versions, they realized that, well, sometimes people might be in a situation where they might want to actually reload the darn thing. So they put a little side-mounted sliding ejector that you could actually use manually and push it and then pop the cartridges out, pull them out, and then reload the gun. If the gun had any drawback, it had kind of a very fragile hinge on the top. So you see lots of these little guns that if they've been fired or badly handled with broken hinges, and you see them with repaired hinges or cracked hinges. So you have to be very, very careful. If you're purchasing one of these guns for your collection, make sure that the hinge hasn't been broken or otherwise altered or repaired.
The gun's a single action. There's no trigger guard. You have a little nub of a trigger that pokes out, even more so when the hammer is cocked. When the hammer's not cocked, you can barely tell that the trigger's in there. But once that hammer goes back, you can get to the trigger.
The Remington Double Derringer had a remarkably long life. They produced this gun for 70 years, and they made more than 150,000 of them. And that's because it was such a reliable, compact gun that had, for its time, a pretty heavy-hitting, potent defensive cartridge. And I mean, you're talking a .41 caliber projectile coming out of a short barrel. I mean, that could do some damage.
Now, it's kind of fun because they were serial numbered for a while, and then they decided, well, we'll just go ahead and number them in batches. So I can't tell you how many people have written me and said, I've got Remington Double Derringer serial number 1. And I have to tell them, well, there's probably several hundred of serial number 1s. So as interesting as that may be, and as kind of a fun thing to show your friends, that's not a unique number on that particular gun. Their numbers were duplicated in many, 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 many guns.